So, I mean, obviously, you've been in the financial services industry for a really long time, and we're going to talk about objections specifically today and how to overcome those or even how to avoid those objections. One of the things that was curious as you were mentioning your background is I'd like for you to talk about what you feel like has changed in the financial services industry since when you first started to where it is today and where you may think that it's going.
Mm.
Because as demographics change and the way people take in information, let's face it, I mean, there's such a huge commoditization happening in insurance and financial services as a whole. So can you just speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, when I started, there's a lot of technologies that exist now that didn't exist then that, both make it easy, but also, make the world a much more competitive place. Obviously no internet and things like that. And I can remember doing lead generation with actual ads in newspapers. And the response was to an 800 recorded line. And I would have somebody transcribe the people taking, names and addresses, and then send the free report and make the offer for an appointment. So it was a little simpler, a little more complicated than the simple nature of like a landing page with a you can deliver sort of a lead magnet with the click of a couple of buttons. But by the same token, it puts something physical and tangible in people's hands as opposed to something that kind of sits in their inbox and hides there. So I think the big difference is a lot more players, a lot more niches. There are a lot of people who say, I'm just going to focus on Medicare or final expense or just this kind of commercial P&C and such. And so I think the niching, the internet, I think especially has allowed people to really niche down. I think overall, I believe prospects and customers and clients, and I make that distinction. I always have that prospects are the people that you might work with. Customers are the people who may buy one thing from you. Clients are the people who buy multiple things with you and stay with you for a long time. I think the loyalty of those folks can be not as great as it used to be in the past, but I think I'm going to lay that a little bit more on the feet of the agent than the customer themselves. Are we doing what we need to do to retain those people proactively? I think because they are bombarded, this is the prospects and customers, bombarded with marketing messages from so many different social media and other sources. I think it's really easy for agents to get blended into what I call platitudes. What I mean by that is platitude is like saying something that anybody could say about their business. So, for example, Bradley said, I've been in business since 1987. Well, so what? Anybody could say that.
Mhm.
Does that mean you've been in business since 1987, doing things wrong for people? We provide great customer service. We have great claim service. These are all things that anybody could say. And so I think it's really more important to figure out what is your unique marketing and positioning message. And then I think you have to really think about your strategy when it comes to retention. And I think a lot of agents think they have better relationships with their customers than they really have. I think the people are a lot more fickle than we realize. I think they're very susceptible to the offers of others. But I think the good news is once they're your customer or your client, there's so many different things we can do to help retain them. And so, for example, there's certainly a very common belief that multiple products help retain a household. And I believe that, but I only believe that to the extent that the products came about from high quality conversations. Because it's the conversations and the interaction and the humanization of that relationship that I think really lends itself to retention. The other thing that I think helps it lend itself to retention is, and we may get a chance to talk about this, but strategy based sales, meaning if you have a person who came to you as an internet lead and they're just looking for a price, that's a very slippery person. They may not stay with you very long. But if you have somebody who you're working with on a 10, 15, 20, 30-year goal, like college accumulation, retirement, things like this, that lends itself to frequent annual meetings. It lends itself to being a little bit more less price sensitive when it comes to changes in things like P&C rates. So I think that while the world is a little bit more of a challenging place, a little bit harder to get noticed, there's a lot of, I think you're totally right. The commoditization of property and casualty is a done issue, meaning it's not a question mark anymore. The insurance companies decided a long time ago that they were going to race to the bottom when it came to focusing on price and discounts. And so I think it's up to the individual agent to make the distinction at the individual agency level. But that's a good thing, right? It allows them to be nimble and creative and not follow sort of the big company thought processes and be more entrepreneurial. And so I think that we sort of live in an exciting time where technology creates a lot of opportunities. But I think no matter what anybody wants to think, I think people are people, humans are humans. They want connection. They want to know that somebody has their back. They want to know that there's a plan. They want to know that there's a strategy. They want to know that there's an objective. And I think people are getting a little sick and tired of, the keyboard warriors and social media and the anonymous stuff. And I think people are really, in my observation, looking for real human connection. So if we can link those two things together, that human connection, the long-term goals, the long-term strategy of really providing total asset protection. I always like to say we really only do two things in our industry. Number one, we help people avoid financial loss. Number two, we help people achieve financial success. Everything we do falls under one of those two umbrellas. I think it's a really simple way to keep things sort of straight in our mind. And it's a really simple message to communicate to clients. And I think when we offer both sides of that equation, that's when the households get sticky. That's when they stay with us for a long time. That's where you're able to attract more people, keep from them for a longer period of time, and have them pay you more money per year. And that's when your business is hyper successful. And then you need club capital to come in and count the money for you.